So you've been convinced of the benefits of index investing, the magical financial buffet that gives you a taste of everything with less chance of food poisoning. But there are still questions to answer and things to know before you start, and that's what this video series is going to help with. For example, one thing you may not know is that there are most commonly at least 2 investment vehicles to get started with index investing. And while both of them are excellent options to start with, I'll give you the reason why I prefer one over the other and why you might hold a different preference. Let's dive in on index funds and ETFs. Now, first of all, at the core of what they seek to do, ETFs and index funds are more similar than they are different. If low-cost index investing is the goal, both ETFs and index funds can have you covered. But what we want to focus on is what their meaningful differences are. What, in my opinion, you should know before you put your money to work. For example, it is true that ETFs are more liquid than index funds because they, like stocks, can be traded anytime during the trading day, where index funds, on the other hand, can only be purchased at the end of a trading day. This, however, in my view, is not a key difference because index investing is typically associated with buy and hold investing, which means I'm not that concerned about trading my investments throughout the day. So here are 3 differences that might matter to you. Number 1, investment minimums. Depending on which index fund you wanted to invest in, there may be an investment minimum. For example, if you wanted to put your money into a Vanguard S&P 500 index fund, you would be required to start with at least $3,000. And if you didn't have $3,000 to invest now, then you might just go for ETFs. But it's important to know that not all index funds have these minimums. Fidelity and Charles Schwab both offer great index fund options with no minimums required. Just know that it may be a wall you run into if you're starting with small amounts. Number 2, index funds are generally touted as being more passive. If you are the type of person who wants a set it and forget it investing experience, index funds may be for you. That's because they inherently facilitate both automatic investments and reinvestment of dividends, leaving you not much to do with your index investing strategy other than watch your money grow, hopefully, over time. Historically, ETFs, on the other hand, have required a little more personal touch to manage. This is changing a bit though, with many brokers now allowing the scheduling of ETF purchases very similar to index funds. Some brokers also offer DRIP, or dividend reinvestment programs, which when enrolled, automatically reinvest dividends to purchase additional shares of the ETF. So index funds may still hold a slight edge for those prioritizing a seamless, passive investing experience, but it's fair to say that ETFs are quickly closing the gap. And number 3, tax efficiency. A core principle of tax planning is to have as much control of when you take income as possible, and therefore be in control of when you create a taxable event. For example, let's say you buy a stock for $10, and over the next few years it appreciates to $25. That $15 of stock appreciation, as long as you hold the stock, is called an unrealized gain, and it's not taxable. When you sell the stock and actually put that $15 into your pocket, that's when the tax man will be there wanting his take on your now realized gain. So you are in control of when that taxable event occurs simply by having control over when you choose to sell. With this in mind, ETFs are generally speaking more tax efficient as they tend to not create as many taxable events as index funds. This is because index funds work like any other mutual fund. When investors decide to sell the fund manager may have to sell stock. And if those stocks are sold at a profit, the profit from that sale is distributed to everyone invested in that fund, which includes you. So even if you never sold, you could receive a tax liability based on other investors' decisions. Now, it's worth noting that index funds have ways to manage this. They keep cash on hand, which can be used to pay investors without selling stocks and triggering taxes. But the risk is still there. ETFs, on the other hand, are just a bit of a different beast. Without diving too deep into the details, when shares of an ETF are bought or sold, it's typically done without actually selling the underlying stocks. This structure helps to avoid some of these tax issues seen with traditional mutual funds. And for this reason, I tend to prefer ETFs over index funds. However, both are great options, and more importantly than which of these vehicles you choose is the fact that you just start. So tell me in the comments below, which is your preference and why? Now, if you're wondering which of the many index funds available are worth considering as you start your journey, when it's ready, check out this video where I'll show you my favorites and why. We'll see you there.